The Titans have officially activated Derrick Henry from injured reserve. We knew this was going to happen, but he's playing tomorrow officially.
Yes, and everybody will now be breathless about it as if there was any doubt. But there's no way. I mean, there were a whole bunch of benchmarks along the way that indicated this would happen. The most recent being that he spoke on Wednesday. They're not putting anybody at the podium to talk about a game that he's not going to play in. So he's back as everybody expected. Now the question is, how back? And I don't know that his carries can be pre-prescribed without seeing how he looks. I imagine they could have a goal and a hope, but I think his play will tell us how much he gets. And I think if he looks good, they'll keep giving him the ball.
We should mention among the activations, 4 o'clock Eastern was the deadline to do it for teams who play on Saturday. So all eyes are also on Green Bay. Green Bay has activated Zadarius Smith and Whitney Merciless off of injured reserve. They're on track to play. So when you activate the player, you have to make a roster move in return because you're bringing them back to the 53-man roster. Doesn't necessarily mean they're active on the 48-man roster for the game, but you wouldn't make a move to cut a player if, in fact, they're not expected to play at the caliber of some of these names like Derrick Henry, like Zadarius Smith, like Whitney Merciless. And again, Whitney Merciless tore his bicep over just 61, 62 days ago, and he's now been activated to play in the postseason for Green Bay. Incredible.
For the Titans, one element that could have really helped Derrick Henry and everybody, Tory Carter, the fullback, whose practice window was open this week from IR. He's not been activated. So Kari Blasingame continues to work as the only fullback. He's not as good at the point of attack as Carter is. That would have been a nice addition to have had as well. They don't get him.
And the Titans didn't have to make a cut because they had 52. Is that right?
Yeah.
Their roster was at 52 anyway.
No cut was made, so they
can add the player.
Chris Jones, the cornerback's been elevated from the practice squad for this game as well. Greg Maben.
And this is also the designation. You have to
week.
designate those players as well. The deadline would have been right now at 3 o'clock Central Time. The role players going into this game, and let's try to go through each of them and give some impact players that are not the star quality. And all of these game previews you can find literally everywhere right now for the divisional matchups. And again, we'll just go in order. I think the role player needing to step up for both teams, at least for me, is fairly obvious. And maybe I'm cheating a bit with Cincinnati's role player, quote unquote. But let's start with Titans. Paul, I'm going with Fercher here, with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones on the field with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. Anthony Fercher at tight end, if you look at his numbers, hasn't done all that much this season. They're nowhere close, and not even deserving to be in the same conversation as the guy he was expected to replace in Jonnu Smith, who's now in New England. But Fercher is going to have some opportunities, and he has opened up some things for Tannehill on play action across the middle of the field and in the end zone over the last 2-3 weeks. Can he continue that nice play where you've got 3 catches for 31 yards or a pair of catches and one of them is a touchdown? That to me is a key for their offense to really get back to a mode that we were expecting before the season even kicked off.
Yeah, it's been more him lately. It doesn't have to be him. It could be Jeff Swaim. It could be Kari Blasingame, or it could be Hilliard out of the backfield, who we haven't seen much on third down really so far. The last game, the Houston game, was his first as the official third down back after they cut Jeremy McNichols. But they clearly have planned for him to be that guy in that role. Fercher seems the most likely now because of the way things have built, and he finally has kind of carved out his niche and found his role, particularly down by the red zone, and in the red zone and in the end zone. So some of those guys can release a little bit of the pressure valve off of the primary guys. I'm not that anxious to release the pressure valve off those guys. I want to see Brown and Jones just go win. I don't want to start the game thinking, let's release some of the pressure off of these guys. I want to see those guys go deal with the pressure.
But keep in mind,
I understand
when I pick these guys out, I'm saying I'm expecting A.J. Brown to be A.J. Brown. I'm expecting Julio Jones to catch a couple passes on the outside at the sticks that just extend the defense out a little bit, that present some type of threat to where it opens up a pocket in the middle. And that is what happened in Houston. That's what happened the week prior for Fercher as well against Miami. I want to see him step up and do some nice things.
Yeah, where there's room.
Yeah, as things progress with this offense. It starts with the run, and it starts with A.J., but we're looking for the guy who's good for 3 to 5 catches in this game. And to me, it's Fercher.
I'd agree with that.
You could put Westbrook-Akina in that role too, but I think because he's actually playing in the role they envision for him going into the year. But I'm taking Fercher on this. And for Cincinnati, it may be a bit of a cheat answer here, but it's Tyler Boyd, who's the undervalued receiver in this group of the trio, because he's going to be matched up with, in all likelihood, he's matched up against a rookie. Am I right in thinking he's matched up with Molden?
And they probably move people around, but I think he'll get his fair chance at Molden. And Molden, I don't know where his confidence is right now, but he was terrible in 2 weeks ago in Houston when a much younger, much slower Danny Amendola shredded him.
And he had 4 catches for 26 yards last week, but he's fully capable. If I said how many yards does Tyler Boyd have for the Cincinnati Bengals, I would have guessed somewhere between 400 and 500 yards on the season.
800.
He's got like 850 yards, and he's a former 1,000-yard receiver. So
yeah, they're 3 deep by every measure.
For Green Bay, San Francisco, I went with Alan Lazard, and he's your guy.
He's my guy for the playoffs. I think he might have 3 good games here and become much more of a household name in NFL circles.
And keep in mind, A.J. Brown feasted on the San Francisco secondary on Thursday Night Football. So I'm thinking Davante Adams and then some in this matchup. I also think Lazard can have a big day on the opposite side. So look for production.
He's gained a lot of trust and a lot of chemistry with Mr. Rodgers.
5 touchdowns over his last 5 games. 3 of those 5 games, he's had 75 or more yards receiving. So he's one of the go-to players now. I like him in the spot he's in. And then Brandon Ayuk, over the last 11 games for San Francisco, 751 yards in 7 games. He is an ascending player with all the attention paid to Kittle and Deebo Samuel. Ayuk, former first-round pick, is playing up to that type of level. Green Bay geared up to stop Samuel and all those touches he's going to receive. Ayuk's going to get plenty of chances in this.